Welcome everyone to the session in Spark Animation 2024 online. Very pleased to be here. My name is Marina Antunes. I'm the festival director for Spark Animation. I am beside myself excited for this talk because this is a movie that's near and dear to my heart. For anybody that knows me, I've been waxing poetic about Robot Dreams since I saw it at Annecy last year. So I'm really, really excited to have with us today for this special presentation, Assistant Director Nacho Subirats and storyboard artist Maca Gill. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you,
Thank
Marina.
I'm going to give you a little bit of background on Nacho and Maca. Nacho is worked as an animation teacher at ESDIP in Madrid and an art and an animation supervisor in its associated production company, ESDIP Animation Studio. His experience has led him to work on production artists as several short films, including Blue and Malone, Casos Imposibles, Twish, Mercury Corp., and director of the award-winning short film Oldie But Goodie, and Yaku. He has worked as a freelance illustrator for several companies, advertising agencies, and publishing houses, such as Penguin Random House, McGraw-Hill, SM Vaughan, etc. And he was responsible for illustrating the trilogy of middle-aged action bestsellers Total Jurassic.
Yeah, I love dinosaurs,
There's a theme. There's a theme. Maca Gill is an Annie-nominated storyboard artist and comic book artist with more than 8 years of experience working for animated feature films, TV shows, and graphic novels. Most recently, she worked for Cartoon Saloon in My Father's Dragon, the Peanuts special for Apple TV, One of a Kind Miracle, and the Academy Award-nominated film Robot Dreams as the sole storyboard artist for the film. Author of DC's comics Anti-Hero, she's currently working on a graphic novel for Marvel, doing storyboards for a feature film in Madrid. Welcome to Spark, both of you. So thrilled to have you both with us today.
Me too. Thank you.
We're so happy to be here talking a bit about our film and letting you know the insights of it.
Yeah, and I'm really curious about this because I know that it's a very unconventional way to make a film, and you don't get a whole lot of animated feature films out of Spain. So, guys, why don't you take us away and take us on this trip on how Robot Dreams came to be?
Cool. So we can start the presentation now if you want. So as this said, we were living a dream making this movie. It was back in 2021 when I first came into the movie, and it all began with Sara Varon's Robot Dreams novel. It was a graphic novel made for children with no dialogue, and our director Pablo Berger wrote it, and he said, "Oh my, I have to make a film of this." Um, so he went on a plane and went to New York to meet Sarah, and he explained her that he had an idea of making this graphic novel a film. She loved the idea, but she thought, okay, I had these offers many often, but they didn't usually like came out finally. So okay, you can do your film. So it was true. Pablo went back to Spain and he started writing the script, and he talked with Sarah about the book. He wanted to make like the story about robot and dog in a in a city where he lived during 10 years, which was New York. So he asked Sarah to be a little bit more specific of the city. So they started to make their first concept drawings, the first concept art. So they were more specific. You see there like the Chrysler and the Twin Towers. It was closer to what Pablo expected, but he wanted more. So he called Jose Luis Agreda, which is genius. Like he's a comic book artist. He is also an illustrator, and he was the art director of Buñuel en El laberinto de las tortugas. So this was going to be his second movie. They talk, and they decided to be like, to push it a little bit more. So they saw photos from New York from the 80s, and they started to create these backgrounds. They made the teaser to sell the movie, and as you see here, all the camera angles and the action was more specific than the graphic novel, but they did maintain some graphical aspect from it. Jose Luis started to work also on the characters to translate them to animation, to 2D animation. Pablo was really, he had his mind really clear that he wanted to make a 2D movie. He wanted to translate it, that graphic novel, the most faithful way into the big screen. So they started working on them. They were polishing some of the aspects of the characters. They made a ton of them. And so pre-production began.
That's when I came in. Pablo contacted me back in 2020, like right before COVID hit. I think it was 2019 actually. And the way, when he called me, the way he talked about the film, I just knew I wanted to work in this, because it's the kind of feeling you get when a director is really excited and knows exactly what they want. And he was so like excited about his own film that I just got it was contagious, and I was like, I need to work on this. It was a hard time. It was during COVID, like I think the pandemic just hit. Um, I met Agreda, the art director, through Cartoon Saloon. It was originally meant to be done in Cartoon Saloon. They made Song of the Sea and Wolfwalkers and other films. But in the end, since COVID hit, it kind of all the plans just didn't work, so we ended up doing it in Madrid. So yeah, if you can, yeah. Oh. Yeah, yeah, no problem. No, yeah, it's good. It's basically an introduction. The start of production was doing the animatic and the storyboards. Animatic is just a word for, in case someone doesn't know, it's just the storyboards put in a video basically that you can play and you can see it and you can feel out how it's gonna look in the final film, kind of. But yeah, the first phase was doing the thumbnails. Agreda, it was his first time doing storyboards, I think, and he made these beautiful thumbnails. He worked them out with Pablo. Pablo had a really clear vision of what he wanted, and they would work out these thumbnails, and they would pitch them to me, with a thing that we called el teatrillo, which would mean like a little theater. So I did this drawing as a small recreation of what would happen. I would take notes, and they had the thumbnails prepared, which are like a very basic, really small drawings of how the shots will look. And then Pablo and Agreda would like pitch it out to me, and they would brief me, and they would say all of the things that they wanted to happen, the emotion, how they, like their intentions, basically, their narrative intentions. So yeah, these are just some characters that I did at the beginning of the teaser. because as Nacho said, there are so many characters in this film. The something important for Pablo was for New York to feel really crowded and real. So that meant having a lot of characters. So yeah, this was a kind of unusual production because usually in bigger studios or the rest of the animation studios, there's kind of a very clear hierarchy where the director communicates to the head of story and then the story team, and then there are revisionists. This works perfectly fine, but there was something really cool about the horizontal workflow that we had in Robot Dreams, where it was just the three of us. And the three of us had a very clear role, and we were working together for a whole year in Pablo's camarote, which was just being able to work next to them and being able to just stand up and ask them anytime, like, is this working? Is this what you mean? It was such a nice experience, and it was so cool to be able to work on it, the three of us, and just see it together. This is a small drawing I made about how every single day at 11 we would take a break and talk about films. Pablo loves films, obviously, and it made me appreciate films a lot more. That year I watched so many movies. But yeah, basically, um, if it was just a very weird workflow, but it worked so nice, because we would get the concept art and the thumbnails from Agreda approved by Pablo, the director. They were straight away approved by Pablo. Straight away, the concepts would be like approved from the get-go because they were made by the art director and supervised by the director, and they were straight like they would go straight to the storyboard. So this was a very great way to just cut corners, in the sense that we wouldn't need so many processes and so many hierarchies. I don't know, I really loved this experience. It was very weird. It hasn't happened again, but I've been asked if this workflow would work in and could be incorporated in other productions. And I think it just worked because Pablo knew so well, and he had such a clear vision of exactly what he wanted to tell, right? And he listened to our feedback, but he was also very firm with his right to the last word. So yeah, basically it would work that they would do the teatrillo, I would do the animatic. I would work straight in video. And then the three of us would watch the sequence together, we would give notes together, and then it would be so nice because the comments were precise, direct, and addressed super quickly. They were addressed immediately with no hierarchies or emails or anything in between. These are some notes that I took during the production of the storyboard, and some of the ideas that we came up on the spot, that ended up making it to the film. And it's so cool the power that like small scribbles can have in the big screen, right? So yeah, it was a pretty didactic process for me, and it got an Annie nomination, which was super exciting. And it got 5 Annie nominations, this film. And it was just the fact that this small movie was competing against Spider-Verse and Nimona and The Boy and the Heron by Miyazaki was so exciting. We all flew to LA as a team. It was just a crazy experience, to be honest. Um, so yeah, but this the bit that I did for the storyboard was that I sent to the Annies was this bit that happened in the beach where Dog realizes that Robot is rusty and he can't move. And yeah, we're gonna show you a small bit of the animatic so that you can see how it looks.
Do you remember a week inside?
So yeah, after the animatic was done, well, the team started coming in as I was about halfway done with the storyboard. And the layout artists started to come in, and they basically would take the shots that we would choose and that we would have in the animatic, and they would like detail them and make really beautiful backgrounds with a lot of life and the right perspective and everything, just to be put straight to the film. These are some by Paul Rivage that are so beautiful. They're breathtaking to look at. But yeah, the layout team was so good. Of course, then also part of the production was the character design. These are some by Agreda, but it wasn't until Danny Fernandez Casas came in, yeah, that he like took the characters and actually made them very solid, very real. It was so exciting to be halfway done with the animatic and just start to see these designs come in, because in the animatic you kind of draw whatever you have on hand. My model for dog changed so much through the whole animatic, and when I started seeing the designs for Danny that Danny brought, it was so cool. It was like, oh, these look like real characters. They look so physical. They look grounded. They look like they could belong in a really busy and realistic New York. So it was so cool to start seeing the character designs, and Danny made such a phenomenal job, and he also got nominated for an Annie Award, and these are so beautiful. And yeah, then of course the animation tests are also a process, part of the animation process. And um and yeah, just
Lots of characters.
yes, so many characters. There's, like I said before, there were, how many were there, Nacho? Was it like
Yeah, like 2000.
2,000 extras for the crowds in New York? And
Just appear like for a second or even in the background, but they were all like treated very carefully and with love.
yeah, yeah. Um, Also, a very important part of all of this process was Yuko. She did a lot of research about how New York looked in the 80s. And this was so important for Pablo. He wanted a very realistic New York. And I think it was worth it, all of the research and all of the effort, because one thing that a lot of people from New York say is that it looks it looks very accurate to how it looked in the 80s. So he was very proud about it, and it was very important for him. Like, I couldn't draw a single doorknob or window without knowing what it looked like in the 80s in New York. So Yuko's research was key for this. She collected a bunch of images. They're not as easy to find as you think. Like, if you just look in Google, it's not that easy. She did such a deep dive into how everything felt and looked, and yeah, it was so important to have all of this. These are some prop designs for the art from the artist, and again, it looks very it looks how they looked in the 80s. It had a lot of, like, every single prop had so much research behind it. These are so cool.
Yeah, we also said that New York was the third character. So it has
Yeah.
to like it was in the 80s. So with that research Yuko made with hundreds and hundreds of photos, the artist like could make like amazing pieces of art, like finding those locations and adding like a little bit of the robot dreams reality.
These are so cool. So many of these I hadn't seen. Just I had seen the final film, but just being able to see these backgrounds, they're so cool.
It was like a very small team of artists. It's like I think doing backgrounds and props, and it was like amazing because I had the chance to work in the camarote too, like Maca when she leave the studio because they finished the animatic and all the storyboard. I came in and sat in the same place as he used to, and I got the chance to help Jose Luis with some of the notes they were given, and also working with Pablo during like all those months. It was like such a privilege.
Yeah, it's so funny that Nacho and I did it. I did the first part of the film, and I was with Pablo and Agreda in the camarote. And right after I left, it's like Nacho took my place.
Yeah, exactly. I
Um,
was like,
yeah.
until the end, until like the last screening before showing it to the world. Like we
Yeah.
were, oh, what if we change this little light that is not correct? And it was fine.
These are the color keys for well not yet, but this is an introduction to the color keys that are so beautiful. Avi Ramirez did it. In this movie, the passage of time is such an important thing because we see a lot of the same backgrounds and spaces and environments repeated through the film, but we have to see them as the year goes by, and in day and night, and in we have to see the same background in so many different types of lighting. So the team did such a beautiful work with the
Like
atmosphere, right?
our resources were limited, so they did it very well at the beginning, like choosing like the same camera angle and repeat it through the time because this is in a this happens in a year, so we will have to find how this city, how the street of dog looked when it was autumn or summer or even winter.
Mm.
Yeah, like I'm in love with the art of this movie. Like I can say it because I didn't do it.
You did part of it. No, but I really hope an art book is we're able to release an art book at some point, because so many of these are a privilege to see.
So they
So cool.
happen for half a second. Ah, that's
And as you can see, the style didn't use any kind of gradients. They wanted to be kind of true to Sara Varon's style, which was very graphic with black lines and kind of a graphic novel kind of look. So the way that they're so um the ambient is so strong in this, and it makes you just feel emotions with the colors, and it's using so little resources, as Nacho said. So that I think that was such a a cool thing that the art team managed to do.
Yeah, and then came my job. Like I was director, so I was all the time solving problems, basically. Like I used to sit with Pablo and watch like the whole sequence from the beginning, like, and we even compare it to the storyboard, to the animatic. Like we used to see the scenes like that, like for Pablo to work better. Like he cannot work with a single piece. Like he needs to know the the whole the whole project. So we were figuring out if we should keep the same time length or extend it a bit more. Like we used to work with Fernando Franco, which is a super great artist, and he's a filmmaker and a composer. And we were even seeing like frame by frame, oh, you missed like 2 frames, so let's stay to the root. And watching this, we my job was to be the hand of Pablo, basically. Like he's an artist, but he cannot draw. So I was helping him, like finding some minor mistakes in order to the record, or maybe even suggesting some choices to make it even better in the position. Like, of course, Benoit Fermont was the animation director of the film, and he did such an amazing work with the team. Like, but then they came into the camarote, and we have our time to see it like a little bit more carefully, and giving those notes to the artist, like to make it as perfect as it could be. And we did this, like even like spotting some missing shadows or some tails of from the animals. Until we see the final results. Where we even see like some minor mistakes that we have to polish, and that's what you get to see in the final screen, the big screen. Like we were very lucky to work with also Patricia Andrades, who was the compositor supervisor. I don't know like the exact title of it, but she did like such an amazing job with only 3 or 4 compositing artists. Like it was amazing.
Mhm.
So we had to do this 62 times because it was 2050 shots, which means 129,600 frames. And we have to repeat 4 times because we did this with layout, with the RAF, with the takedown, and also with the compositing. Besides this, we also had the chance to study some of the sequence like more carefully. Pablo and Yuko went to Barcelona to record these roller skaters like Africa and Michelle, who were the best artists of rolling in Barcelona, and they record her like exactly the way they want it during 3 days or something. And then we translated here into the animation.
For me, this was so cool too, because while I was working in the storyboard, I just kind of did I just drew them kind of dancing with rollerblades, but it was hard to obviously make up a whole choreography, right? And suddenly being able to see it's just so cool, especially being a storyboard artist that is the first department, just seeing how each one adds small, like really cool details. And in the end, the fact that they had this super cool choreography that was fully fleshed out and worked perfectly in roller skates was so cool to see. Just when I sat in the movie theater, I was like, wow, they did that. That's so perfect. It looked so nice.
Like the perfect mix of everybody, of you, Maca, and the girls. Also Laura Soret, who was the animator who did this, did the layout. Like they all together made this incredible piece. It's amazing.
Yeah.
We also had to do some camera studies from several sequences. Here is the Flowerland sequence where Robot gets into a forest of daisies, and even though it was really similar, like we wanted to be really specific on where we put the camera so that the backgrounds doesn't resemble the same. It was cool to do this. And finally, one of my latest like jobs inside the job was the crowd direction with Pedro Alpera, and like Pablo trusts me more, so he was more focused on the main action of the 2 main characters, Robot and Dog. So so I had to work with the crowds, with the cars, and New York City is a city full of life. So we have to be really specific on which directions like the car should go, because we want it to be like as real as possible.
Yeah, there is something funny about this whole thing, that is that Pablo noticed that a car was going in the wrong direction of how it looks in New York in the final shot. Like once it had been totally animated, the colors were perfect, it was perfect, and Pablo was like, the car is not in the right direction. And I remember the production team being like, okay, we can't change it, Pablo, no. But but he was like, no, we have to change it because it has to look exactly how it looks in New York. And I think it paid off, like this level of detail and care put into it looking exactly faithful to the city, right? And so many people who live there have said that it's very truthful, and I think that's so cool.
And that is only possible due to all the team that were involved in this film. Like it was in a small studio in downtown Madrid, but also we have like another offices in Pamplona, and like it was such a cool time. Like, you know, we even made it into the Oscars, Cannes, the Annies. So it was like a train come true.
It was so special. I was talking to Nacho about it before. Sorry, last thing, that the fact that such a small film with a small budget, the story is not like this Hollywood epic, really fast paced kind of animated picture that you see in every other animation studio nowadays. It's kind of a quiet, small film about emotions, and the fact that such a small film made it to all of these huge events and that it made it to the Oscars just proves that the audiences want to see more personal films and films made with an author, right? And with a like, I don't know, just I think it's worth it to do art and to do, like, we don't always need to do big IPs. So it was so special that this film made it so big, and we're so proud of it.
It's such a wonderful film, and I mean, I remember the minute that I saw it. I went to see it kind of blind. I knew Pablo's work. I loved his two feature films. And I'm like, he's making an animated movie? Like, this is weird. But okay, sure, I'll give it a go. And I was sobbing at the end of that movie. It is, you may have heard me in the audience if you were at Annecy, because I was crying audibly. I messaged the whole team. I'm like, I just saw my favorite movie of the year. And it was right up there, right until the end of the year. And it still thinking about it makes me emotional because the level of care and love afterwards when you guys were all talking about it after the premiere, and the fact that it was made by such a small team and everybody seemed so passionate about it, you could see it on the screen. And I think that that's what carried the movie to all of these places. It just, like you say, Maca, it speaks from the heart. It's so
Yeah.
beautiful. And thank you for sharing those background images and just those stills, because you said, where's the art book? I'm like, I will kickstart this art
Yeah.
book. I want a copy. It's so beautiful. But I had some questions about the fact that this was done in such a unique way. Clearly it's paid off with this particular project. It has a very like tactile feeling to it. Um, what sort of direction do you think Pablo brought that was maybe one of the catalysts that made this particular process work?
If I may answer for just my point of view from the beginning of the film on the storyboard, I think Pablo brought in as you said, this was his first animated movie. He had done like live action before, and I think something very interesting for me while working with him is his level of detail to the actual cinematography. I don't know if this is something that you could tell while watching the film, but since then I've been so aware in other films he was so careful about the camera, about the transitions, about the shots, and it was a very didactic experience for me because, as you said, he came from a live action background, and um, just that was so valuable for this film, and it made it so different from other productions that I've been in. But it worked perfectly, and he knew what he wanted to tell. He knew how he wanted to tell it, and he had a very strong knowledge of filmmaking, which was so cool to experience in a
Yeah,
workspace.
when we first saw the animatic, like we know that was a film. Like there weren't
Mm.
like any changes possible. Like that worked. We only have to animate it a little bit more and added color and some fancy stuff, but the story was told. So it was like such a great experience having like a live action director. Like he had really clear in his mind what he wanted, and he translated to us like uh, yeah. So yeah, it was amazing.
Is it uncommon to have a storyboard that's like and an animatic that's basically essentially the final film? You just have to do like you say, Nacho, you just kind of fill in all of the extra details. But it seems like to me that that's kind of uncommon to be able to, basically, your first go at it is actually the final go at it because the movie's basically done at that point.
It's so weird. It's the first time for me that that's something like the fact that I would have the director working so close to the animatic and that we would watch it scene by scene and just give notes together. So they would basically be approved very quickly, the scenes, because it would be like, okay, let's work on this first pass, and we would watch it together, and then it's like, okay, the director likes it, let's do it. But he was also very careful about I also did a first editing pass of the whole film. As Nacho said, Fernando Franco came, and he's a wonderful editor. I learned so much from him. But he wanted the editing to be perfect from the beginning. So I was like, okay, I need to really make this work. And we just made the animatic so that when we hit play and we sat back, we really liked it. And I remember the first time the three of us watched the ending, the three of us teared up which is ridiculous because it's like we have seen this so many times. We worked on the thumbnails, we worked on the we had seen it, but it's just yeah, for Pablo, he called the storyboard the treasure map, and he really wanted to feel the film when he saw the storyboard, which he has worked with storyboards in all of his other live action films, which is also not that common. um but yeah, it has been so nice as an
Was
experience.
like for some of us, it was our first big movie. Like I
Mm.
have worked as an animator in two more movies, but not as deeply as this. And some of the members of the team were really young, and Pablo was really enthusiastic, and he like contagious like with this enthusiasm.
And Nacho, how was the experience different for you?
It was amazing. It was like a journey I will never forget. Like at the beginning, it was like unusual to work with somebody that knows a lot about cinema, but knows like very little about animation. And all the animators, like we were suggesting, okay, Pablo, but this is an animation movie, so we should make like the characters acting like more like we used to do. But no, Pablo said like, okay, hold your horses. Like I want a real emotion, real interactions with the characters. We were looking the pupils like for a week, like watching that every character, like in most emotional scenes, were looking at each other and were like saying what they had to say.
Oh,
And
in the storyboard, I had he also made me look so closely at the pupils and the eyes. They were so important. Like even these really subtle eye squints or nuanced really expressions, but it was so important for him. Yeah.
Well, and it sounds to me like one of the continuing themes of this project is that you didn't cut any corners anywhere. It might have been a small production, it might have been, really unique in the way that the film was produced, but at the end of the day, there was like detail was key. I mean, the fact that the backgrounds and the research that was done to make it so authentic to 80s New York, The fact that, the squinting, the eye movement, everything was paid such close attention to. The fact that you had over 2,000 extras, where somewhere else you might just like hit the computer button and go duplicate,
Yeah.
Yes.
duplicate. Like the fact that there was none of that, everything was like, you know,
Yeah, we were like all happy to work with. And I remember Danny Fernandez Casas working on the studio,
Mm.
and he went home, and the day after, he bring like tons of characters dressed like Halloween, and it was like, oh my god, every single one, it's unique, and they must be on the film. And that happens also with the props and with the animation, also with the background characters that were animated. Like if you see some of the films that are nowadays, they are used to be static at the background, or just making some loops, something like that. But Pablo wanted like them to live there in that city.
it sounds like you both had, and the whole team has some really unique and interesting experiences making Robot Dreams. For each of you, what is the your key takeaway from this experience, and what have you taken with you to new projects now that the film's been out for a while?
Oh, for me, Pablo really made me appreciate like filmmaking as a craft, and especially as a story artist, we have so much to do with the camera placing and the framing and the pace and the way we edit things together and how that makes us feel. Um, he has such a big appreciation for cinema, and it was contagious, right? Like he made us watch so many films. We talked about films so much. So, and this is something that like animation is cinema, right? So we should treat it as such, and we should respect the details and the craft. And this was the first time that it was like for Pablo, it was so important to take care of all of those things. So I've really yeah, I have it now in my heart now. It's like, oh yeah, I should take this. This is part of the job and part of doing storyboards and doing films, right? Like it's such a cool job. So let's take it seriously and let's make films, right? Yeah.
Yeah, let's make something that remains like in the
Mm.
future. Like I have a kid, and the moment I came in and saw the animatic, I knew that I wanted to show to him this movie, and his children, and, and my niece, and everybody in my family, because I I want to share like this personal story.
It comes through in the movie. It's really timeless, and it's so beautiful. The Central Park theme, it's gotten to the point now where I hear the song and I see the skating robot and dog. Like the two things are just now married in my mind, and I think everyone that sees it feels the same. My husband saw it and he's like, now whenever I hear the song, this is the only thing I think about. Like it's done its job. It's
I
done
love
its
that.
job. But there are so many scenes in the film that are like that. I was kind of going to end there, but I mean, the reality is there's so many amazing and powerful scenes in the film, like the time passing when Robot is on the beach, and like you just the way that that scene is edited with, the time and,
Yeah.
dog thinking about Robot, and like it's so emotionally resonant. Like it feels, and you don't even realize it, and you're like, why am I feeling this way?
Yeah.
But I mean, like you say, Maca, it is, it's film, right? I mean, it
Mm.
conveys just the same emotions, but for whatever reason, I think it's maybe because there's no dialogue, you kind of feel things a little bit more because your mind isn't concentrating on anything else that's happening. You're just
Mm.
concentrating on the images, and you forget that there is nobody is talking. Like this is all just pictures and the emotion that it conveys in you. It's like spectacular storytelling. It really is.
Totally.
It's an
And
amazing, amazing project.
I love that you were saying like I wasn't expecting to cry so much, and the thing is that it looks so cartoony and so nice. They're smiling. It's like, oh, this is gonna be like such a good heartfelt movie, and then it destroys you because it talks about such a human theme
Art.
that is like relationships and like moving on and having like something beautiful and a beautiful relationship, but having to like leave it behind and just having to move on with your life, which I think resonates with so many adults too that went to
Yeah.
the cinema like, oh, this is a kid's film and it's so cartoony, and it's like, oh, you don't expect it to be so bittersweet. And I love that it destroys your heart a little bit.
For kids, like to see these kind of movies that tells real stories, that okay, you can have a friend that goes to live in another town, so you use him or use her.
Yeah.
So that's like their point of view to.
Yeah, I think it's probably more heartbreaking for adults because you bring like there's so many layers to this story, and it just I really do think, 'cause having seen it with my nieces, like they love it, but it's a very, like Nacho says, it's like, my friend just left and my friend might come back and we're all going to be different, and that's fine. But I don't know, as an adult, it seems to hit so much harder because they didn't cry, but I certainly do every time I see it. I can't help myself. So it just goes to show just like how, different your
Mhm.
experience and your age and your life lived really does bring another layer to it. But it's such a beautiful achievement, and congratulations to you both. It is such
Thank
an
you.
awesome film, and it's so nice to have both of you with us to share a little bit more behind the scenes, because we haven't seen a whole lot about how the movie was made. So it's
Yeah.
really nice to be able to get like sort of a pull back of the curtain. So thank you both so much for your time and effort putting this presentation together for the Spark audience. It's been
Yeah.
really wonderful.
No, thank you for giving us the platform also to just talk about
About it.
this wonderful experience. Yeah.
Listen, we're going to be talking about this in 10 years, in 25 years, and in 50 years. We're going to be doing a retrospective on Robot Dreams and why this movie is so timeless, because it really is.
Yeah, thank you very much for having us here. Like it was, as Maca said, like an honor to talk about the film again, and
And now
let's
we
look.
just have to conspire on how to make an art book happen.
Yes, I know, because those backgrounds, they're so beautiful. Like so many of them, I hadn't seen them until Nacho showed me. Like, wow, these are so cool. We need an art book.
Agreed. The Spark
Yeah.
audience will help.
Yeah.
I don't know how, but we'll hatch a plan together.
Yeah.
Thank you both again so much for your time. This has been really lovely, and congratulations on the project, and best of luck with what you're working on next. It sounds exciting.
Thank you.